Something that I've been dealing with for a while now and haven't really opened up too much about is the fact that I've been dealing with going in and out of what I would classify as a really unhealthy relationship with food. I would categorize it, you know, most closely to, I would say it's part of like a binge eating thing that I've been on. I alternate between avoiding food, and sometimes I really do like forget to eat for a really long time. Gosh, it's just so hard to finally talk about and open up about. I think that obviously I'm not alone in this. I think a lot of women have dealt with something similar. I think society really does not help. I think that capitalistic nature of like working through your lunch breaks and expecting to be at work basically during breakfast, lunch, and almost dinner, probably all three meals at your desk sometimes. I know I've done that. And just the expectation of like, company first and not people first, not person first. Um, I grew up with a mom who had type 2 diabetes, and again, I loved her very, very dearly, but she really didn't take great care of herself. And I think she struggled with a lot of what I feel within myself now. Like, I think she felt like she didn't deserve better food, or like she was, she wanted the flavor she wanted. So if one week it was salad, but like salad with like half the salad was cheese and croutons and like not really the vegetable part, or if she really wanted like, oh, I really felt like I walked by a lemon meringue pie, so I bought a pie. And now I know at a lot of grocery stores they're a little bit more accommodating. Like they have individual slices of cake you can individually, or you can buy like half a pie or a quarter of a pie, like depending on your grocery store. But she'd be like, well, what did you want me to do? Like, I really wanted this flavor, and she would basically be like, okay, I bought this, and now if you don't eat it with me, I'm gonna eat this whole thing. So a lot of it was like guilt tripping so regularly. Again, I don't believe intentionally guilt tripping, but it really like, I don't know what else to call it, to say that like, if you don't help me eat this, then my sugar will spike. If you don't help me eat this, then I'm going to go into whatever, and like it's gonna make me have another more unhealthy behavior. So that was like at least a weekly occurrence, at least once a week, something like that was going on. So I think that obviously the early 2000s were trash for what we expected from people, from female people. You have the super skinny people of like Kate Moss and like that realm of model, and then the rail thin like Keira Knightley, and there are so many more people than I can name off right now, but like Angelina Jolie was like incredibly thin, and you could like throw a dart and hit people who were literally starving themselves. Obviously, the Olsen twins have talked a little bit about like what they went through with their anorexia respectively, like what their individual journeys were, helping each other through that. And it is tremendously harmful, like when you only see people who have under a certain BMI, or people who are only really tall and like more lanky. What is the Raphael-esque sort of sensationalism of like, wispy women that you can kind of like knock over with a feather. Sorry, that was a little bit rude, but like there was just not a lot of visibility for people who were any type of other body type. Obviously, in America, we know that a lot of our food is not even classified as food. Like, there's very little nutrients. You have to really like fight for or grow your own food in order to have good food. And like we had said, with the expectation of you're in the car during breakfast, you're in the car during dinner, either on your way to work or on your way back home from work or on your way to wherever to do different things. The availability of good food that's on the road is even less than, because it's basically, if you're somebody who is a truck driver or who, is some type of delivery person who's constantly, all you have is a truck stop, all you have is just the shortest window of time so that you can eat something and still make it to whatever deadline you're trying to complete. The human element is sort of so totally lost there. So I'm by no means trying to say like it's only women who experience these things, but I think, again, like just trying to speak from what my experiences are, and a lot of the people who have opened up to me about their experiences just happen to have been female. And so, yeah, when you're overworked, you're overtired, and then only really recently has like fitness transferred more online with like Zoom and stuff, but before that there really wasn't. There was exercise DVDs that you could like put on demand. Some of them were free, but there was not a lot of like, unless you had the $20, $30 or whatever to spend on workout DVDs. Like, working out in home is obviously more cost effective than if you don't feel like you have the know-how to operate certain types of equipment and you're feeling embarrassed and don't just generally have like that body awareness already, then you might be less likely to work out in front of other people until you develop those habits. And it's just, I don't really blame, everybody's in such different stages in their life right now. I think that especially during the pandemic, I've been trying personally to be less hard on myself, because ultimately, like, you're living through a global pandemic. Like, your stress levels are higher because it's like very, what are we going to do? And what does the grocery store have? And what are we out of? And what is there a national shortage of this week? I think that because of the stress, the adrenaline, like some people's body, when they're really scared or have that sort of fight or flight sensation activated, some people do get really rail thin and like panic themselves thin. Some people, when your body goes into like emergency mode, will be like, yep, nope, now we're going to store everything we've ever eaten because you're behaving as if, there's an end of world. So we want to make sure you have fat access for like, again, for anatomically, like, you're designed to have fat for extra nutrients so that your body has something to burn when you're like running from the lions or running from whatever like prehistoric thing that we basically started out in, running from all kinds of things and obviously running from each other eventually. But now we have such sedentary lifestyles that I think that the opportunities to go out less and less really haven't helped that. I think a lot of people are now conscientious of the germaphobe element of like, how clean could this gym possibly be if there's more and more bodies breathing more and more air. It's not just the sweat and things on the equipment, it's how well is it ventilated, how well is the care element there, or is it just like slapdash shower open and like come as you please, wipe your own stuff down, and it's so funny to think about the things that were normal before. Like, people used to just, you know, hold hands like renegades, or like, you know, it's such a radical thing to do or expect, like the normal that was normal. Because there's definitely like, it was sensationalized to like go make out at nightclubs with whoever, or go do like the first date activities, just breathing in each other's space over coffee. Like, it just seems like things that you wouldn't ever have thought of as taboo are now definitely like sort of make somebody else clutch their pearls. And I don't know, I really don't mean to come across like I'm trivializing those fears. I think that they're sincerely like, there's those feelings, those are completely valid feelings, looking at, you know, this unknown element of one variation to another variation. So the other factor is that obviously with nerves, people are drinking more. Obviously, unfortunately, alcohol is just pure calories, and that's going to affect your metabolism differently depending on your genetics, really. And so that's where I think that I'm proud of myself that I did buy some weights. I'm proud of myself that I did buy like more gym tank tops. But it's just, for me, like I said, being any type of isolation, any type of not having, like, I prefer to go do workout classes when I can afford them. There are a couple gyms downtown, in downtown New Bedford, that I really want to be able to support again. I really love Boutique Fitness. I really love the bar, downtown Union Street. But they are by no means, like, because of the locale and because of the extra steps they're going through and the class sizes being smaller, I think they've raised their rates a little bit. And I think that I'm not trying to say, like, I definitely think that they deserve every cent that they get. All those instructors deserve to be paid. Obviously they have their own bills to pay to keep the lights on and their rent for the building, but it's just not something that's attainable for me right this minute to continue to financially like pour out when I'm trying to have savings. So that being said, I think it's such a struggle. And then there's the depression element of like, I don't have time to work out, I don't have whatever, so you start to feel overwhelmed, and those stresses, whereas exercise is obviously an excellent outlet to get those stresses out, you simply don't have the time on the clock to do so because you're maybe trying to spend time with your family, maybe trying to go out once or twice with your friends, or you're trying to get 8 hours sleep, which is hard enough on its own. Like, whatever it is, if you're taking care of people, like, that's, or just taking care of yourself, there's not a lot of space made in society for people who aren't working a 9 to 5, who aren't like meeting those requirements for like, oh, you're not a real adult until you're doing this, or oh, you're less than if you're not doing these activities. I think obviously there are so many different factors, so again, I'm trying my best to only speak from my experience. I think that there is obviously such a cash grab at the, you know, the Hydroxycut, the Lipo-X, the apple cider vinegar supplements, you know, I think that obviously some of them are less harm and some of them are much more harm than others. But there is such the like It Works company, the, you know, Weight Watchers and all these other things are basically based on like, or they were based on really unhealthy things. I can't say how they are currently, but there continues to be a money grab at like the waist trainers, the other things. Whereas like corsets and waist trainers and back supports, like they're made to be muscle supports and spine supports and posture correctors. And obviously, like, yes, there is the aesthetically pleasing thing of like having a smaller waist while doing so, but that's such a, it's a side effect. It's not what they're originally intended to do. Like corsets were designed for posture and other things, not just to be, you know, make everybody have this hourglass. And again, those are temporary quick fixes. Obviously, there's companies like Spanx, there's companies like, you know, the lotions where you're rubbing it on your cellulite supposed to make it dissolve. Like, it's, people are apt to do what they think is going to fit into their schedule, and if it's going to be, if they perceive it to be a shortcut, and if it's endorsed by like another huge issue that has since been addressed by, like, I know John Oliver did a video on it, and a couple other people have said subsequently, like, Dr. Oz was just endorsing, like, the Garcinia Gambosia or the ketones, the different things. The extent to which, like, you can put anything you want in a supplement and, like, there's no regulation is a huge problem. And then obviously if you have a familiar face on TV, somebody who's a doctor with a national talk show, like, why would you second guess? I think, again, it's the familiarity of like, oh yeah, this person seems warm and friendly and seems like he knows what he's talking about, has all these credentials and has helped these people. But ultimately, regardless of whichever doctor you're talking about, like, they're going to include the dietary supplements that I was mentioning a minute ago. There's also a huge problem with that from, like, primary care doctors saying, like, oh, you know, let's put you on this medication, even though it doesn't make as much sense as medication A, we're going to put you on medication B because of, like, and the reason is obviously pertaining to whatever insurance is going to cut them a bigger check for. So even if it's less effective, it's about the bottom dollar. And these are just, I realize that this is just sort of a stream of consciousness thing that I'm putting up, but it does come up really, really daily with me. Like, I don't feel like I deserve food some days, or like it will be so far in the back of my mind that it'll be like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. and I will not have eaten. Or there are times where I've done intermittent fasting where it was like 36 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, like without eating anything. Or with eating like only celery juice or only like all these fluid diets. And realistically, like, I've kind of just had to make peace with some of those struggles. I'm doing my best to combat that and try and correct them now. Like right now I have a nice salad I just made with a piece of fish on top for protein, nice piece of salmon. I have a bunch of celery sticks that are just additional to that. I have a little bit of carbs with some crackers, but like primarily I'm really trying to make the effort to have better stuff in the house because I know I'll just grab whatever's easiest. So if whatever's easiest is like 1 or 2 degrees better, then, you know, the next best, like, smart food or whatever that's super simple, but it's not going to fill you up. And ultimately, like, even if it's the healthiest junk food, it's still junk food. So I'm hoping that just the conscious effort to do swaps, the conscious effort to value myself, put myself on more of a important hold myself really in more of an important space. And not, you know, I think again I got treated really poorly before I figured out that that was not correct, and I got hurt a lot. And I think that there is, it's not just societal, it's internalized, not just from like magazines, not just from men, but like women do it to each other all the time. I've had some really nasty comments come to me from like people who were supposed to be my best friends. They were like, well, maybe if you get yourself healthier, like people will take you more seriously, or maybe if you get yourself whatever. And that's, I don't care how well the intention is, like those are things that will sink in my skin. They're like fish hooks that I won't be able to get out. And some of that, again, is my own mental ability, is my own personality disorder that I'm trying to figure out my way through. But like, you can't just say things to people like about their weight. I will never comment on somebody's weight. Like, even if I'm out to dinner, it's happened where like I was on like a second or third date with somebody and they were like, wow, you're eating a lot, or wow, you really ate fast, huh? Or like, wow, you whatever. And I will immediately like either push my plate away from me, I will get up and like excuse myself. Like, I really have a hard time working through any type of comments about how much I eat, how little I eat, what I eat. And I am, again, I'm not a person who has a huge sweet tooth. I'm much more likely to have, like, I'll want savory stuff. So, like, I think, like, my biggest problem right now that I have to be more concerned about is, like, the sodium and, like, the additional things that are going to be in hot sauce, or, like, what kind of calories are going to be in, like, the spicier snacks, or, like, ultimately there's still going to be preservatives of some kind. But, I'm trying to get like almonds that are less salted, or flavors that are like, you know, or no salt. And that just, it does take a conscious effort. It does sort of require yourself to kind of work through those voices that you might have also in the grocery store that are like, oh, just get the one you want to get, or oh, just get whatever. And like, you know, you're just gonna fail at being healthier anyway, just go ahead and pick me up. Like, those sort of things that, like, the angel on your one shoulder, devil on another shoulder, like, if one voice is louder than the other, and you can kind of be like, no, like, I'm not gonna go through that this time. I'm not gonna put that in the house, because if I put it in the house, I know that I'm gonna eat it. It takes so long, and it is exhausting sometimes to work your way through that. Again, grieving is not something you can always control. When you're going to be upset, what your tolerance is going to be like for that day, how much you're going to need to eat to replenish like the amount of crying and other difficulties you're having. Like, you really have to kind of meet your own needs day to day, minute to minute. So fluids are keeping fluids going, taking vitamins on days where you know that you really don't have any other shot at getting them, or you haven't consumed enough of a healthier variety of food. Like, and I just say that with no judgment at all. Like, I keep iron supplements on, you know, to take what I need, because my mom has had anemia, so there are some times where, like, if I feel one way or another, even though I don't have it, like, that's something I have if I need it. I have a fish oil, which I've been taking fairly regularly. I have like a multi and some other things, or, you know, I have magnesium for cramping. I have probiotics, and like different things that are just like, what do I feel like I need in this moment? What do I feel like I need to be successful today? Or if you get to the end of the day and you're like, you know what, yeah, I ate like 4 pieces of pizza and I really need to make sure I have like a calcium supplement and a vitamin C and like whatever. you specifically feel better on. You know, there is a lot of political stuff or like internal dialogue about like, you know, you can just put your name on whatever and call it a vitamin, and even if you're like Nature's Valley, or even if you're like from high end to low end of vitamin supplements, store brand to the top, there's a lot of questions about what's in them because there really isn't a lot of regulation. But these are just some things that I've been trying to be just more kind to myself, more accommodating to where my needs are currently, because again, I really do struggle without like a support group, support team. So I had a workout group online through Facebook that kind of fell apart. I did have a couple different people who were like, yeah, let's go for walks, yeah, let's do whatever, yeah, I'll make sure, let's do this every week. And then unfortunately, like, their life changed, other people's circumstances change at the drop of a hat, and it kind of, again, whether it was intentional or not, I still feel very left in the dust about it. And if I don't have, like, I think part of it is the accountability, like, have somebody to, like, remind me when I wasn't able to remind myself, or on days in the future where I'm not able to, like, remind myself. If I text somebody that I'm having a bad day, like, I feel really low, I feel like I have nothing, or I feel whatever, and if they don't text me back and treat it with the priority of that, it's really just challenging. So I have a lot of this training that I've done on my own. Like, I have my yoga certificate, I have all this knowledge through ISSA, I did their dietitian program, I did their CPR. I've done the CPR through them twice now. That was the first thing I ever did. I did their group exercise program, or group exercise fitness instructor program. I did their kickboxing instructor program. I did Zumba obviously through a different company. I did the yoga certificate through ISSA, and I feel like I am forgetting one, but like, I have all of this knowledge about, like, I know what I'm supposed to eat, I know what nutrition is and isn't, and I can't believe how new, like, realistically in the grand scheme of things, nutrition science is so new. Like, the food that was available in America in the 70s was not food either. And then the sensationalism of, it always amazes me when you hear certain athletes talk about, like, oh yeah, and we didn't have any of that, like, there wasn't the amount of protein or whatever you ate, it was just like, eat every hamburger you see, or eat every lasagna you see, and just like drink all the beer, smoke all the smokes, and like then go out and do these incredible feats of like human athletic performance. And it's like even more astonishing almost, because here you are, you're literally actively working against yourself, and then like going out there doing whatever, winning Olympic medals, and like on the most terrible food. And then there is, like, unfortunately, some athletes do silly things like endorse soda companies or whatever, and that sort of falls into the same people who would value, like, Dr. Oz's opinion, people who would value, like, different people. And there's a part of my brain that realizes, like, if Lady Gaga came on television tomorrow and said, yeah, like, you know what, I eat, I drink 4, I can't even think of an example, but there have been so many things where, like, somebody's diet, I think Gwyneth Paltrow was like, oh yeah, I eat 1 meal a day and then I have 1 jar of baby food, where it's like, hello, that's not a system. what? That's not sustainable. That might help you drop weight temporarily. It might help you feel better temporarily if you are cleansing. And then through the yoga program, I learned a lot of the Ayurvedic diet, where it's like the doshas for different body types depending on how tall you are, and different personality characteristics also ties in with that a little bit. That's gonna have to be another video if you'd like me to talk about that. I'm happy to. I just would have to really, I would want to put more notes together specifically on that, because that is a very dense subject. And I don't really know how to explain to like a new friend or to whatever, like, don't comment on what I put on my pizza, or don't comment on the food order I place, or don't comment on whatever, because it will eat at me. Or don't comment on how I order my coffee. Don't comment on, don't literally like, just, you can tell me I look nice, but don't be like, oh, you look so much better than you did last time, because then I'll be like, how did I look last time? Like, it will literally, there will be an alarm, there will be a siren in my head, there will be, like, I will Rubik's Cube myself on that for hours and hours and hours and hours, days and days and days and days in the future. It's resulted in me, like, somebody making a really negative comment, and that results in me either throwing out an outfit or donating an outfit. That some of these things that I really enjoyed and loved wearing, but like somebody's nasty comment about that changed. Like, every time I would look at that item of clothing, I'd be like, well, this item of clothing looks like, well, that color washes you out, or that color whatever, or that pattern isn't good on you, or don't wear, you know, these pieces just, they really are like glass shards of like things people have said to me, or like, you look, I don't mind somebody telling me that I look healthier or sound healthier, but then that does make me question, like, what state was I in last time? Or like, there are some times where I can be like, yeah, you know, I really was in like sweatpants and had mascara running down my face last time you saw me, so maybe you telling me that I look healthier is a good thing. But like, it's hard, and like, there are some things that are just total anomalies. Like, sometimes kids, or like little kids, just say stuff about people's bodies, and then like, if you're that parent, you have to be like, oh my god, don't say that to people. Or like, if you're on the receiving end of that, it's like, you know, you have to take your minute and just be like, okay, they have totally their own lens they're seeing through. But it's stuff like that. It's like, at least with kids, you know that there's not really usually a malicious, like, let me say this really targeted thing to you, aspect to it. But with, like, sometimes people will use like the backhanded compliment, like the mean girls behavior of like, oh, you look so healthy, but healthy means like you're overweight, or like, oh, you look so, like, look you being all thick or whatever. And it's like, it's just so everywhere, every element, and it's taught at such young ages. And for me, somebody who was in like wedding fashions, you realize like what would normally be a size 4 in the bridal world is like a size 8 or a 10. Sorry, I don't know why my phone alarm just went off, but that's a true story. Like, I was a dress size 8, dress size 6 or 8, and then when I went to try on like bridal wear, I was literally like, had to have a whole conversation with myself about like, doesn't matter what size it is, doesn't matter what size it is, doesn't matter what size it is. But the fact that like, I then had to put on like, according to that tag from that specific designer, that's their size 14, that's their size 16. And it's so like, I almost want to be like, don't even tell me what it is after we get it tailored, whatever. I don't care. Like, how much extra I have to tip you to do not tell me what size it is. Tell me I look amazing. Tell me it's super flattering. Tell me that this colored great. Tell me whatever. Or tell me that I look washed out, but also, like, suggest something else that's, like, let's try a different warmer tone, or let's try a different cool tone, pastel tone pattern that is more flattering. Like, it has so deeply impacted me. It changes the way, like, me as a customer service person, when I have been in those worlds, like, how I talk to people. It changes how I talk to everybody. Like, I will not. I've seen other people, like, time and time again, friend after friend, say, like, oh, I really need to drop, like, 30 pounds, or I really need to drop 15 pounds, or if I could just lose the last 5 pounds before the wedding, or whatever. Or even for other people's weddings, like, not just the bride, but like, oh yeah, I really want to, like, no, like, that's not, I understand wanting to look your best, but, like, that type of behavior is so derogatory, and, like, a lot of it is, like, from the top down. It's somebody's grandmother said it to somebody's mom, and now somebody's mom has said it to them, and then that person has to make a concerted effort trying not to pass that forward. Or maybe it has been, like, a grandparent who said something, or an uncle who said something, and then that's, you know, I'm still of the mind where, like, men just don't deserve the ability to comment on women's issues. Like, if you don't have an opinion on somebody, what is coming to mind is, like, the concept of, like, no uterus, no opinion, especially on, like, if you're a man who's got an opinion on reproductive rights. It's kind of like, well, that's nice, but that's not cool. Have that feeling, but, like, don't berate other people. Or, like, what I mean right now is, like, well, if your mom, like, men will say things like, oh yeah, well, my mom was always the same size, or my mom was eating whatever she wanted, and why can't you, like, whatever, like, why is your weight fluctuating if hers never did? And I'm like, well, first of all, like, don't ever talk to me again, because it's the dumbest thing you could possibly say. But, like, everybody's metabolism is so different. There are people who have to actively make a concerted effort to gain weight. There are people who have to actively make a concerted effort to lose weight. And all of that is, a great deal of it is genetically predisposed. Like, what you've had a history of in your family. And what you'd like to do going forward. And I don't think, like, there is the place of, a lot of people don't feel welcome in gym culture because there's the memes that go around are like, oh, everything runs in your family because nobody runs in your family, or everything, like, you know, girls who are afraid to get bulky don't even whatever. And it's like, well, that's also stupid. Like, you're basically being totally narcissistic about yourself, and, like, who is that for? Like, that's for people who are actively okay with tearing down the next person. And that kind of breaks into, like, the social media bullying end of it. But thank you for watching this. I am going to eat my food, I promise. Pinky promise. But it's been a struggle. Like, there are days where I have, like, only water, or only, like, a seltzer, or, you know, simple things that I'm really trying to get back on track and have, like I said, I know what I need to eat, and the execution is, the frequency is getting better.